Good morning, and welcome to the Louisville Free Public Library Storytime. I'm Peter, and today I'm going to do a special story time for you, a mindfulness story time. You might be wondering, what is mindfulness? Pretty big word. Mindfulness is the practice of taking one moment at a time and being in the present moment. A lot of times we're thinking about all sorts of things. Thoughts are running through our head, sort of like a monkey. We call it monkey brain. And sometimes to calm down those monkeys, we just want to concentrate on the here and now, what's happening right now. Not worrying about what happened this morning, not worrying about what we're going to have for lunch, just concentrating on the moment. And that can be hard to do, but there are several things you can do that will help you concentrate and be in the moment. And one of them is breathing. Breathing is very important to mindfulness. And to help me with breathing, I like to use my breathing ball. Every time I take a breath in, I push the ball out. And every time I let the breath out, push the ball in. So you can breathe with me in my breathing ball. Let's all take a deep breath in. Let it out. Let's take one in. And let it out. And one more. Let it out. Breathing is a great way to deal with our emotions whenever we're feeling scared or angry or even really excited. Taking a couple deep breaths will calm us down. Here's a strategy I like to use, and we're going to use it later on in the story that I tell. You put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And these are your anchors. And as you breathe in, you feel how your chest and your stomach move. Let's try it. Let's do it again. One more time. So as you breathe, you can actually feel your body moving. Now today's story time is going to be fun because we're going to be moving around. I have my mat here. If you have a mat at home, you can use that. Or if you have a towel. Or if not, you can just use the floor. But we'll be moving a lot, so I thought we would take a few stretches before we begin. So everybody stand up, put your feet a little bit apart. We're going to bring our arms up to make a rocket. Bring that rocket down. Let's do it again. Rocket to the sky and bring that rocket down. This time we're going to twirl our wrists as we go up and bring them back down. Twirl them up. Bring them back down. This time we're going to raise our arms back and forth. And then we're going to shake water from our hands. Pretend our hands are really wet. There. Now we're almost ready for our story. Now, in today's story, we have a special mindfulness word of the day. This is a word I want you to think about while you're listening and acting out the story with me. That word is kindness. Kindness is when you do something nice to show support or love or friendship to other people. There are many ways that you can show kindness to one another. Let's think about some ways we can show kindness. You can show kindness by waving to somebody and saying hello. You can show kindness by helping your parents clean up your toys around the house or help with the dishes or set the table for dinner. Sometimes you can show kindness by just being quiet for a little while your mom and your dad might take a moment to relax. There are many ways we can show kindness to one another. So I want you to be thinking about that as you listen to the story. Today's story is an old story written over 2,000 years ago by a man named Aesop. It's the story of the lion and the mouse. As you listen to the story, I want you to think about ways that the lion and the mouse show kindness to one another. Also during the story, I want you to get up and move. I'm going to be moving. You can do what I do. You can make your own movements. Anything goes with this type of story time. So if you're all ready, we'll do the story of the lion and the mouse. I always started by getting way down low on my mat. One morning, the sun rose high over the Serengeti plains of Africa. A little mouse climbed out of his hole and he jumped onto a rock. He was so enthralled by the beautiful colors of the sunrise that he did not notice the other creatures around him. He did not see the owl that was flying through the air until that owl made a loud screech. I can hear you all screeching out there. The mouse jumped into a hollow log and he climbed through the log. And then he started to crawl up a hill and he parted the grass and he could see that he was safe. Whew. The mouse didn't notice a piece of grass in front of him. He was very curious about this grass because it didn't look like ordinary grass. It wasn't green. It was brown. Looked like that maybe the sun got too hot and dried it up. He decided to be brave and he reached out with his paw to touch the grass. But you know, it wasn't dry. It felt very soft. It was nice to touch. Everyone feel that grass in front of you. Oh, he felt the grass when suddenly the whole earth began to shake and the mouse was tossed around. Oh my goodness, he thought, is this an earthquake? But you know, it wasn't an earthquake because that mouse had not climbed up a hill. He had crawled onto the back of a lion who had fallen asleep in the sun. And that lion woke up with a mighty roar. I can hear you all roaring out there. Roar. The mouse went flying into the air, and the lion caught him by the tail. And then the lion put the mouse in the palm of his hand. How do you think the mouse was feeling right now? Do you think the mouse was scared? How about the lion? How do you think the lion was feeling right now? Do you think that lion was angry? The lion looked at the mouse and he said, "Who dare disturb my sleep?" The mouse realized that he was scared, and he decided to find his anchors, his chest and his stomach, and take 3 calming breaths. I want everyone to do that with the mouse. The mouse realized that he was no longer scared, and he knew what he had to do. He said, "Oh, mighty lion, I apologize for having disturbed your sleep." The lion looked at the mouse. He liked the way that the mouse had apologized to him. He also was impressed with how the mouse found his anchors and took those calming breaths. He decided to put the mouse on the ground, and then he found his anchors. And he decided to take 3 calming breaths. Roar. Roar. And he realized that he was no longer angry, and he knew what he had to do. He said, "I'm sorry, mouse, for having scared you." The mouse said, "Thank you for your apology." And then the lion says, "Now, mouse, you need to hurry on home. I'm sure your children are waiting for you." So the little mouse started to run home. But he stopped and he turned to the lion and he said, "Thank you, lion, for showing me kindness. I promise one day that I will show kindness to you. And off he ran through that hollow log. He jumped up on that rock and he slid down into his hole where all his mouse children came to greet him. Squeak, 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 squeak. The lion continued to walk into the jungle. He was going to meet his pride. Pride is a word that means lion family. They were going on a big hunt that night. But you know, the lion wasn't the only one hunting in the jungle that day. For these drivers, these men came up in their jeep. They were there to hunt for lions. They grabbed a big net and threw it on the ground. Then they covered the net with leaves. They got back into their jeeps and they drove off. The lion continued to walk into the jungle. He did not see the trap that was on the ground. He did not realize that it was there until he placed one palm right on the trap. And up with the trap, and up with the lion. He was caught. How do you think the lion was feeling right now? I bet he was scared. The lion realized that he was scared, and he knew what he had to do. He found his anchors, and he took 3 calming breaths. And he realized he was no longer scared, and he knew what he had to do. He let out a mighty roar. I want you all to roar as loud as you can. Roar! As if to say, your leader has been caught. Rescue me if you can, but save yourselves first. Back in that little hole, the mouse was getting ready to serve breakfast to his children when he heard a sound, a familiar roar. He said to himself, that is my friend, the lion. He is in trouble. I must go save him. So he climbed out of his hole. He jumped onto the rock. He crawled through that hollow log, and then he started to run across the Serengeti into the jungle, where he came to a great big tree. We can all stand and be trees. The mouse started to climb the tree. Then he walked out on the branch. He felt very nervous, but he was going to do it to help his friend. He came to a rope that was around the branch. Started to scratch at it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Below the lion heard a noise. He said, who is that? And the mouse said, it is I, your friend, the mouse. I'm here to rescue you. Oh, the lion said, thank you, mouse, but I don't understand. How can a tiny animal like you rescue a big animal like me from a trap? The mouse said, I'm not sure, but let me try. And the mouse began to scratch, 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 scratch at that rope. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Then he decided to sink his teeth into it and started to gnaw. And that rope got thinner and thinner and thinner until it snapped. And down came the trap, and down came the lion. I am free, he yelled. Oh, thank you, Mouse, for rescuing me from this trap. And I apologize for having doubted you. Who would have known that a tiny animal like a mouse could save a big animal like a lion from a terrible trap? The mouse said, "Thank you for your apology. Now hurry home, lion, before those hunters come back." And that lion started to run into the jungle, but he stopped and he turned and he waved goodbye to his friend the mouse, who waved goodbye to him. And then that lion was gone. The mouse climbed down the tree. He ran across the Serengeti. He crawled through that hollow log, jumped up onto the rock, and scurried into his hole, where all his mouse children came to greet him. Squeak, 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 squeak. And the mouse told his children about how he saved the mighty lion from a terrible trap, and he threw on the ground a knot from that rope trap, which those baby mice chewed on and gnawed on and scratched on, and retold the story of the lion and the mouse for many years to come. The rains come, and the rivers flow, and that's the way the story goes. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story. Did you act it out? I bet that was fun. I sure did have a lot of fun doing it. Now I want to talk a little bit about our special mindfulness word, kindness. Remember how we talked about kindness was when you do nice things for people or say nice things? Think about the ways the lion and the mouse show kindness to one another. I think the lion showed kindness to the mouse when he let him go free. That was a nice thing to do. And I think the mouse showed kindness to the lion when he saved him from the trap. He put himself in danger to run across the Serengeti plains and up the tree, and he figured out a way of freeing the lion from the trap. That was a very kind thing to do. The lion and the mouse also apologize to each other. Sometimes just saying "I'm sorry" or "I apologize" is a great way to show kindness. And, oh yeah, they waved at each other and they became friends. I can't think of a nicer way to show kindness than becoming friends with someone. You know, the lion and the mouse felt a lot of emotions during this story. Emotions are feelings. Feelings that you feel inside in your mind, but you sometimes feel them through your body by the way your body reacts. I wonder what kind of emotions the lion and the mouse felt during this story. I think they might have felt happiness at some point. I think the mouse was happy when the lion freed him. And I think the lion was happy when the mouse saved him from the trap. And I think the mouse's children were happy to see their father return home. Look, what things make you feel happy? Think about that for a moment. There are lots of things that will make you feel happy, I'm sure. Another emotion that I'm sure was being felt during the story was anger. There were times when the lion was very angry. He was angry when his sleep was disturbed. It's okay to be angry. It's just an emotion that we feel. Sometimes how we react to our emotions, that really makes the difference. And the lion did apologize after scaring the mouse with his anger. Oh, and speaking of being scared, that's another emotion that I'm sure was felt a lot during this story. The mouse was scared when the earth started to shake, and then he was caught by the lion. He didn't know what would happen next. Not knowing what will happen next can be very scary. That's why taking deep breaths and just concentrating on the moment will help us deal with those types of emotions. And one more emotion that I think is important is excitement. Being excited. I think that the mouse's children were very excited when the father came home and told them that story about saving the lion. And I think that the mouse and the lion were excited to meet new friends. And maybe they can look forward to seeing each other again in the future. That's a very exciting thing that can happen. So as you go throughout your day, I want you to think about ways of showing kindness to each other, ways that the mouse and the lion showed kindness during the story. And I also want you to think about those emotions that you were feeling. And maybe talking to your parents about it. Talking about your emotions is a great way of understanding them and knowing that it's okay to feel the way you feel. We're going to end today's story time with another great mindfulness tool, sound. And I have here my chime. Sometimes if we concentrate on a single sound, it will help us to be in the moment. And what I'd like you to do now, I invite you to close your eyes, or if you prefer, you can stare gently down on the floor in front of you, or at your computer screen. And when I ring the chime, I just want you to listen to it. Listen to it as long as you can. And when you can no longer hear that sound of the chime, then I just want you to raise your hand. Of course, I can't see you, but I know you're listening, and I know you're raising your hand. So is everyone ready? Let's listen. I can no longer hear the sound, so I raise my hand and open my eyes. If you have your eyes closed, you can open them now. I want to thank you again for coming to today's story time. I hope you enjoyed listening to the story of the lion and the mouse. And I hope you all stay safe and happy and healthy. Thank you again from the Louisville Free Public Library.
Thank you, Mr. Peter.